Now, the trouble with such things as the moral responsibility of the artist, which is a very grandiose way of putting it, is that in order to begin to deal with such a subject at all, one's got to begin by being extremely reckless and extremely simple-minded. For example, before we can begin to discuss it, one's got to arrive at some kind of tentative agreement as to what or who an artist is. And that would seem a very simple matter if it were not for two facts, which I suggest to you. At least two facts. And especially in this country and at this time. One is that one has got to disengage the artistic effort. One has got to separate it from what is normally thought of in this country, and perhaps in the world, when we speak of self-expression. And to give you some idea of how loaded the subject is, the very conjunction of the two words, self-expression, opens up a tremendous wilderness. Who is this self, and what is it expressing? But to stick to my point, the artistic effort is first of all defined by the necessity, by the discipline is that one has got to become disinterested. That is to say, I may have excellent reasons, private, emotional terrors. For some reason, I may not want to think that this is wood. But in order to become an artist, I got to say that this is wood, even if it threatens my life, and even if I know it will destroy me. Now, the reason, we're going to come back to that in a minute, this effort at being disinterested, which is the bone of the artistic discipline. But the second reason is in some ways even more important, and is certainly connected to the first reason, which is the fact. Now bear in mind when I say fact, that for example, this is a fact, I am a fact, all of you are collective and individual facts, and the city in which we stand and the country in which we find ourselves are facts, like rain, like thunder, like lightning, like fire. The fact of the artist has always attacked, and it attacks now. And as far as we can tell, it probably always will attack all of our notions of safety and all of our notions of health. Now speaking, if I may, for a moment, simply as an artist who tries to work with words, any literary artist soon realizes that all words are at least double-edged. There is, for example, such a thing as health, and there really is such a thing as health. But there is also such a thing as what society thinks of as health, which is not the same thing. Now, when you are trying to suggest, for example, what health is, you are forced to attack all the assumptions of your society, because it imagines health to be collective, whereas the artist is forced to recognize and is obliged to make you know that health is single, individual, and uncertain. There's never a moment in anybody's life when the job is, as it were, done. You may make it on Tuesday, but you still got Wednesday morning to face. Now the reason that traditionally, this is according to me, presently as I said, you'll have a chance at, you can attack me. But legend is full of legends, of stories about the dreamy poet, the mad lover, the poet, lunatic, and the lover. Marvelous conjunction. Traditionally and classically, the artist is always possessed. Traditionally and classically, he has always been stoned, and there are many ways of stoning an artist to death, by the people who produced him because they needed him. Now, what was he possessed by? This is where we get into the extraordinary marshy ground of who and what an artist is. Now, according to me, what an artist is, who an artist is simply somebody who helps you see reality again. The pressures of everyone's life, including, if I may say so, those of the artists, are so great that one has, in self-defense, in order to survive, in order to get through one single day, to learn certain habits, to take certain things for granted, with the effect, inevitably, that by and by, you don't see anything. Now let me repeat that. I've had to assume, for example, I have to take for granted that this platform will not fall down beneath me. I must take that for granted. I assume that this building is built strongly enough that the ceiling won't fall down on me. Now, these are assumptions which may or may not be justified. But I must make these assumptions in order to move at all. On the other hand, in order to keep alive, in order to become a human being really, one has got to question everything. Let me try to give you an example of what I mean. Apples are very common. When a writer tries to describe an apple, nothing would seem simpler than to say an apple's red, for example. But then you realize the word apple has certain emotional, historical, classical connotations. It is somehow involved with evil, Eve in the garden. It is a fact, it grows on a tree, it falls. And how do you make an apple real on a page? How do I make you see what an apple is? Or, for example, another example. We've all, I suppose, in one way or another, had occasion to deal with a newborn child. And legend is full of the miracle of motherhood and fatherhood. And indeed it is a miracle when a child comes into the world. But it's a miracle very little respected. Finally, that moment of wonder, which is precisely what we all depend on when the child is born, is what we endlessly betray in the raising of the child. So again, one has to make real. The artist has to make real for himself and everyone else the fact of the birth of a child is holy, and we are responsible to that moment, which is one of the summits of everybody's life. Now, the vision by which an artist is possessed, and here we can use the word possessed, I think, legitimately, because no one in his right mind, I assure you, would want to be a writer. I never understood people who say they would like to be writers. I discovered that I was one, and I'm still trying to make it. He is possessed, the artist is possessed by a vision which is precisely this, nothing less than this. It is a vision of the New Jerusalem. It is a vision of the kingdom of heaven on earth. And where the war begins between the artist and the society is precisely here. It is only the artist, as distinguished from the priest, the psychoanalyst, the Pope. It is only the artist who is really, you can check me out, I hope, given us any sense of what it is like to be alive, to be trapped, and to glory in this fact that one is forever, or for a very short time, I mean both things at once, between that sky and this earth, and you came from someplace and you're going someplace else, you don't know where you're going, and you don't know where you came from, and what it feels like to be here and to triumph in it. The artist has given us his record. And the war is a very strange war when you begin to realize that the reason the artist is possessed by the vision of the New Jerusalem is not at all because he is a dreamer. And not at all because he's unrealistic. His vision is based on what he has seen of human beings. What one sees of them. What one sees of another proves that people can be better than they are. This is all any artist has ever been trying to say. And the collision occurs because people would like to be better than they are, but don't wish to see themselves revealed, and don't wish to have their deepest intimations, their deepest suspicions concerning what they could be and what they could do. They do not wish to have these suspicions confirmed because the effort is mighty. One of the reasons that we have invented God is simply on the most basic and also the most base and the most tribal level to justify our failures. God expands as we expand. I don't think I had to spell out to any of you the fearful crimes which have been committed and are being committed all over the world and in this country as we stand here in the name of God. Now the artist, no matter how he sounds, is by definition a religious man, believing that we can create and transcend all our gods. That it is entirely up to us, it is the work of human beings, to make the world more human. This is the demand that the artist makes of his society, which the society inevitably, unfailingly, and always resists. Resists because it knows that it could do it, but prefers to believe that what it can see and touch is more real than what it knows and feels at that moment, for example, when the baby is born. The role of the artist, the responsibility of the artist, is to make you respect that moment above all other moments. To recognize that there is nothing under heaven nothing under heaven, no creed and no flag, and no cause more important than the single human life.